I'm Robbie Slavin. I'm Senior Director of Client Development for Product Placement and AI Data at BENlabs, and I'm being joined today by the Vice President of Marketing at Cousin Subs, Justin McCoy. Justin, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So we are talking about the evolution of a legacy brand here. So as a native New Yorker and not someone who goes to Wisconsin enough, talk to me a little bit about Cousin Subs.
Yeah, so Cousin Subs was founded in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 1972. We were founded by two cousins who were from Jersey. So Bill Specht grew up in Atlantic City, literally in the projects in Atlantic City. He got married after getting out of the Navy, and he married a Wisconsin girl. So at some point they decided to move back to Wisconsin. When he came back to Wisconsin, he was missing his favorite sub from Atlantic City, which was White House Subs. So if anybody's ever been to Atlantic City, it's a historic sub shop there.
It's delicious.
Thank you.
Please.
In our private home, Robbie loves White House Subs. But he called his cousin Jim Shepard and said, hey, we got an opportunity here in Wisconsin to open a sub shop. So Jim came out and then they opened the first Cousin Subs in 1972.
Fantastic. So you are a legacy brand, but you're now transitioning into this growth mode. Tell us a little bit about that journey of going from a legacy to a growth brand.
Yeah, so Bill and Jim, they started out, it was all corporate units. At some point they decided to franchise, so a lot of the operations staff that worked for the company became franchisees, and then they actively began to franchise. I know if you talk to Bill today, he would say that they were just so excited about franchising, they probably grew a little too fast without a really solid plan for franchising. In Wisconsin, we're very successful with these large A, B site, freestanding drive-through locations, and when they began franchising, they allowed franchisees to open up throughout the country in inline, smaller C, D sites, and they grew pretty quickly. So we got up to about 140 units in 12 states. But what happened is there were one-offs. They also degraded the brand a little bit. East Coast sub shops have all of our hot subs are done on a grill. So when they started franchising, this is when Subway started really growing in the late 90s, and they decided to allow franchisees to open with microwaves versus grills. So there was a couple of missteps in the franchising process, and from there, when I joined the leadership team about 12 years ago, and Bill's daughter took over as CEO, we decided we needed to get back to the roots of what we were, which was A sites, drive-throughs. We needed to get rid of all the locations that had microwaves and get back to that grill. So that was really the process we went down, usually about 8 years ago.
And what were some of the specific marketing strategies and tactics that you employed to revitalize or reposition yourself as a growth?
Yeah, we really felt that we were a fast casual brand in terms of product, but our experience in the store was really lacking. They had not required franchisees to update the restaurants, so they were very old and tired. We needed to bring up that guest experience from the moment they walked in the door to match the quality of the food. And then from there, also being a Wisconsin-based brand, and even though we were, really the menu was designed based off an East Coast sub shop, one of the things I brought forward is we're based in Wisconsin, so we're only going to serve Wisconsin cheese. We're only going to do Wisconsin dairy. We're going to highlight different products like deep fried cheese curds, different things like that. So we really focused on that. So it was really bringing forward the cuisine philosophy. We're also a family-owned brand, and we want to bring that forward. And then the third component was really that we invest in the communities we call home too. So we established our Make It Better Foundation. So those three key messages were really what we focused on: was product, family-owned, we care about you, we're going to serve great product, and then our commitment to the community.
Fantastic. Relevancy is a big thing that we do at Ben through a cultural lens. I'm curious, what, most legacy brands kind of face challenges in that way. What are ways that you are doing, what are you doing essentially to help maintain relevancy as a legacy brand, reposition as a growth brand?
Yeah, one of our biggest challenges was technology. When I joined the organization nearly 18 years ago, we had 6 different POS systems. So in a retail environment, to have all these different POS systems, you're not getting rich data, you're not collecting what you need to. And so one of the things we did was really begin to invest in technology. So we decided, I oversee our national ad fund, and I was just basically like, what if I set aside money and let's just buy a POS system for the entire organization? Let's unify everything from a tech perspective. And that will allow me to build online ordering and everything else that we need to have in our stores to be consistent. So we did that. We invested in POS, we invested in basically the whole technology infrastructure in stores. We invested in them created a unified structure, and then that gave me the foundation then to launch online ordering and everything else that we do today. So that was, when I think relevancy in our space, that was extremely important. And in the unknown of the pandemic, we had a tech infrastructure that allowed us to really flourish during that time. And we didn't even know that was going to be a byproduct of that investment, but that really helped us to grow as we came out of that.
And what's the market research and consumer insights that guided this evolution of the brand?
Yeah, so we did a number of focus groups and really talking about before we implemented, when I talk about the rebranding, really we had to rebrand all of the restaurants. So today we're about 80% through that. In a franchise world, there's 10-year contracts on the franchise agreement. So at the end of that agreement, that's when we can enforce the remodel. So we're 80% through. But before we did that, as we were trying to figure out what elements do we need to bring to the restaurant, what do our guests want, I did focus groups throughout Wisconsin and Illinois as well. As a brand, just to step back for a second, we're like a national level brand in Wisconsin. We have nearly 90 units. Now we're looking to grow as we go outside of Wisconsin. So it's kind of unique that we're a small franchise concept, but in the state of Wisconsin, we're large. So that's where we did a number of the focus groups to really hone in on what we needed to do in the restaurants.
And in terms of branding and messaging, how did you strike a balance between preserving the heritage of the brand and adapting to consumer preferences and market trends?
Yeah, as I had the opportunity to grow in the organization, I started as an entry-level marketing specialist within the organization, held a number of roles for the first several years I was there. But as I observed and I worked in the field, I just realized we weren't really capitalizing on who we were. We weren't talking about being family-owned. We weren't talking about being Wisconsin-based, and given that we're primarily Wisconsin, we leaned into that. We also weren't talking about at that time that since 1972, we were slicing our meats, we were slicing our cheese, we were doing everything fresh, we were grilling to order, we were doing all these different things that fast casual concepts were starting to come forward with and saying, hey, we just launched doing this. We were doing this since 1972, so we leaned into all that. So we really just talked about what we've been doing forever, but we hadn't taken credit for it. And that was one of the big things I tried to do.
So it's a form of storytelling, essentially, right? Just leaning into the history and then being able to convey that. That's great. Could you share some examples of successful marketing campaigns and initiatives that played a pivotal role in driving growth?
Yeah, so I talked about the investment in technology. One of the things I sought out early on was to try to find what I thought was the preeminent online ordering provider, and we partnered with a company called Olo. They were a startup out of New York at the time. They only had about 9 employees. Today they're one of the largest online ordering providers out there. So that was the base. We had traditional marketing plans, but I would say about 3 years ago we really leaned into the digital side. So we worked with a great digital marketing agency out of Milwaukee called Marvel. We were able to, we're heavily involved in Meta and Google now. We've launched SMS. We have a robust loyalty program. We have about 350,000 members, and we're really pushing just the digital channel. When we first started with online ordering, my goal was to get up to like 5%. Today we're doing about 25% of our business online. We're really pushing a lot through digital and continuing to grow each day. But yeah, really pushing into that digital advertising. People are on their phone. The moment they look at their phone, we're served with an ad. Click a button and they're ordering cousin subs.
Spinning off of that, just what are we doing maybe in the influencer space? Are you utilizing influencers continuously, or is it more different touch points throughout the year?
Yeah, so it's relatively new for us. We've started to dip our toe in the space a little bit. In Wisconsin, we're doing it with like specific products. Really trying to get to the decision maker in the household, so looking at influencers, where we can talk about cousins being an opportunity for a family. Right now we're running a 4-pack bundle after 4 p.m. We were seeing a lot of drop off over the last 12 months in 4 p.m. later day part and weekends. So, I go out with my son, I'm spending $45 for the 2 of us, so we have a bundle right now that's 4 subs, 4 sides for $30. And so we're pushing that, we're really trying to push things like that. But yeah, just really trying to grow there.
You mentioned growth into other markets, so geographically that's a big thing. How did you identify and target new markets while maintaining brand consistency?
Yeah, so we're heavily concentrated on the east side of Wisconsin, so basically from Milwaukee up to Green Bay. We're highly concentrated. We have a lot of growth potential in the center part of the state and then over in the western part of the state. And then in addition, I talked a little bit about growing pretty quickly and probably not growing growing strategically, when we got together as a leadership team, we decided to have planned retraction. So we basically closed all those like satellite single unit operators that were all around the country. So now we went from like 140 units to 93, and now we're looking to go out and grow. So it was all about building the foundation back up to then go out and grow. At that time, we were like 140 units. We were doing about $60 million in sales and averaging about $450,000 average unit. Today we're 93 units. We're averaging 800 plus thousand a store. We're doing record sales. We're on like 6 straight years of record sales. We'll probably finish up around 82 million this year. And what we decided is we kind of paused franchise growth, and we've really been doing it corporately. We want to improve out the model, make the brand healthier, so we can get a more sophisticated franchisee candidate. We're looking for a multi-unit operator, someone who maybe has another concept, because the one-offs, the single units weren't working for us. So we paused that end. We're doing it corporately. We did an analysis of the Midwest market to try to determine what market we would go see outside of Wisconsin, and we decided on Indianapolis. So we have 3 leases signed. We have a store coming on the ground right now that should be open in January. So we're doing that corporately. And again, it's all about us trying to prove out the model, and then we'll go out and actively franchise after that.
Very cool. And you and I spoke about it yesterday, but you've also taken another approach also with utilizing maybe some celebrity talent locally. So talk to me a little bit about that, how you're expanding the franchises in that sort of respect.
Yeah, I brought up the pandemic earlier, so ironically, one day I got a message on LinkedIn from Donald Driver. For any of you that are NFL fans, or maybe Dancing with the Star fans, Donald Driver is a former Packer. He won Dancing with the Stars. He's still very active in the state of Wisconsin. He lives in Texas, but he reached out to me. He had he has a fitness business. And he was pitching me about doing virtual workouts for our corporation while everybody was home doing the whole thing. And we started talking. We formed a relationship. About 6 months later, he had a golf outing, and we decided to go to that and be a part of it and handle his lunches. We went out, we met him, and he really expressed that when he was a Packer, he loved the Cousin Subs brand, and we began conversations there. I would say, being a family-owned business, we never really thought about having outside investors. At least the Speck family hadn't. But Donald was a unique case for us. He really fit our core values, who we are as an organization. So we began talking, and we formed a joint venture with him. So he's now a co-owner of 6 locations up in the Fox Valley area, up in Green Bay. He will partner with us on any future development in that area. And then he's also assisting us with franchise sales, and just, he's not our brand spokesperson, but we can use him. We have a marketing agreement with him to utilize him as well. But he's really opened a lot of doors for us. We were just down at the Super Bowl last year at a symposium with former NFL players who are looking to start their own businesses, and we think it's a great avenue for us with joint ventures. So we'll see where that heads, but thus far the relationship with him has been great, and it's been awesome. We were just on the cover of Franchise Times, and for an organization our size, that's a pretty cool deal.
Don't just pay the celebrities, get them to give you money.
They do. Yes, exactly. And that's one thing I talk about is that people are like, how much are you paying him to do this? It's like, no, he invested in us. I mean, he believed in our brand, and he's heavily invested in us, and we're invested in him though too. I made a commitment from a marketing standpoint to partner with him on some of his properties and things he's doing in Wisconsin, and it's just been a great partnership.
That's great. And you mentioned loyalty program earlier. Can you discuss the role of the customer experience and loyalty programs in this transformation from this legacy brand to growth?
Yeah, so really, it's been about collecting data. One of the problems with having so many different POS systems is I couldn't tell you our customer lifetime value. I can tell you anything. Now that we have a unified POS system, we have online ordering, and then we launched loyalty with an organization called Punch. We now have 300,000 plus people in the loyalty program, and we're utilizing that daily to learn about our guests. What are they purchasing? What are they doing? We're able to target market on an individualized basis, or basically on their buying patterns. So it's just allowed us to be a lot smarter about what we're doing. And then as an extension of that, we just launched our SMS program, which has been gangbusters. We're trying to get more people into the program, but thus far, we launched about 2 months ago. Every text message we send right now, we have about a 60% conversion rate. So that means within 3 days of us sending a text message, they are converting into a sale for us. So I think it's going to be a great avenue for us to continue to grow what we're doing, and loyalty is a big part of what's going on.
And you mentioned this earlier, but I think this comes back. How did you ensure that customers continue to have a positive, consistent experience with the brand throughout this growth journey?
Yeah, the operations team really dove in. We really looked at what we were doing from staffing levels, the way we were approaching guests, the moment they walked in the door, what the experience was like. we've just continued to chip away at trying to improve in every area. For example, I talked about drive-thrus being very successful for us. One of the things we did is we upgraded all of our headsets in our drive-thrus, HD headsets, all the speakers, so you don't have that, Charlie Brown teachers talking over the microphone situation going on. But what we also did is we put multiple sensors throughout that drive-thru process within our parking lots, essentially. And so what every drive-thru location has now is they have a screen within their store. They have a goal of how much time a drive-thru order should take. And then it's actually gamification, so the stores can see in real time how they're performing against every other drive-thru location in the system. Real time, every day, we do contests based off that, so if they're not moving quick enough, if things are happening, we literally consider the corporate office and call a store and say, hey, your drive-thru times are slow, what's going on here, what's happening, are you short-staffed, things like that. So we've tried to do a lot of different things to improve that guest experience.
So you basically took the flywheel model and just applied it to your stores. That's great.
Pretty much.
That's awesome. And then two-part last question. What's the #1 menu item? And what's your favorite?
Yeah, so it's funny, the #1 menu item is a basic ham and provolone. #2 is turkey, and then third would be cheesesteak. My favorite indulgence sub is it's a pepperoni melt, so it's ham, pepperoni, provolone, it's grilled. But I put it on Parmesan Asiago and add a little bit of marinara, so that's my favorite.
Any questions?
I wish I could. We have a couple locations down here. Chicago will be a market at some point. It's just a tough market. We feel that Indianapolis is a good area for us to be in, and that whole corridor. The reason we chose down there is we feel from there we can go Lexington, we can go Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati. That whole corridor, we think the product will go really well. But I guess I wish I was there.
Right.
Yeah, so I mentioned. Yeah, it continues to evolve, to be quite honest, because when I started with the organization, so I mentioned that our founders, they were all corporate, then they franchised to a lot of former employees. A lot of those former employees are now boomers who are now looking to get out of the business. So what we found is that a lot of boomers, when we said, okay, now you need to invest in the restaurant, remodel, or relocate, they didn't want to do that because they were getting to the end of their life cycle as a business owner. So what we started to do is buy them back. So we went from about 10 corporate locations when I first started to now we have 50. So we own 50 of the 93, and all the growth is corporate right now. There are some advantages to that. As a franchisor, you only make 6% of the store, versus right now it's unlimited potential when you operate yourself as a franchisor. So I think right now our plan is to grow corporately for the next few years, and then we'll start to actively franchise. We're listening, when people reach out. If we find the right franchisee, we'll do it, but we're just not going to open a franchise location any longer if it's not the right candidate.
How do you choose to apply marketing support per unit? Do you have discrete strategies per store? Is it always on?
Yeah, from a franchise perspective, it's ongoing support all the time. From a corporate perspective, I do look at, we have cash cows, so we will, shift dollars based on the performance of stores. But in general, it's equal play across the field. I do have field marketing reps who are out consulting with the stores on a weekly basis, trying to help them on their local store marketing tactics. But really the things that I'm talking about, like loyalty, SMS, our digital advertising, all those things are applied equally across the system.
Any other questions? Justin, thank you so much.
Thank you.